Again, I don't think this is gonna replace anybody. I don't think this is gonna suck the creativity out of people. It's not gonna reduce that at all. What it's gonna be able to do is just make you better, more accurate, and have a lot of financial implications.
Hello and welcome back to the Retail Podcast. Now, you can't leave a conference or scroll on LinkedIn without seeing how AI is having such a disruptive impact on the industry and specific agentic AI. And I thought, why don't we get some experts to come and tell us what's really happening? So you, Mr. and Mrs. Retailer, can understand, where am I going? Am I on the right track? Am I not? Should I be looking at this? Should I not? What's the reality right now? Because I think, again, sometimes I've been at conferences thinking that, is this really the reality that where we are now, or it's just people's sort of biased or built impressions? And I think there's no better person to have this conversation with Noah Hirschman, ex-Microsoft colleague, so full disclosure, but someone who I've worked with and someone who can, hand on heart say that he's got some merchandising experience. Just a little. Noah, hello, welcome to the show.
Hey, Alex, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. So Noah, why don't we frame this for people who are like, they're super interested in AI. They are from a merchandising background, and so therefore their lens is not necessarily the same as someone from tech, because tech will probably take a different view on this. And just frame the conversation that we're going to have today, if you don't mind.
Cool. So my background is really about retail merchandising, and I've been doing it since many, many, many years. I started out in the electronics business, and I also helped build electronic businesses at Amazon and at eBay. But merchandising obviously extends to all categories: grocery, fashion, all sorts of Home Depot kinds of things. And so it's really, in my opinion, and of course I'm biased, right? It's the hub of the wheel. I mean, I always make the added that, sure, the App Store has great fixtures and fantastic customer service, but if it didn't have the iPhone 17, nobody would care.
Yeah.
Right? It's really about the product. And so it starts from there, and that is sort of the hub of the wheel of retail, because once there's an assortment and the product is great, it's somehow better than the competitors, priced better quality, more features, etc., then that can be pushed out to the rest of the organization, including obviously supply chain and things around vendors and manufacturers, marketing, in-store merchandising and setup, sales training, e-commerce, etc., etc. So really getting the assortment planning right and the product and the pricing right is the whole ball of wax. And once that is done, you can move it out. Now, the problem is that has heretofore been a very manual process, right? And for me, coming back and, even as far back as the 80s and the 90s, where you had to do things on spreadsheets and do manual calculations. Let's see, I have 50 in stock. I sold 30. I need to buy another 20, that kind of stuff. And all the way to, it's on sale. It's usually $9.99. Now it's on sale for $8.99. And pushing all those things out is a very cumbersome thing. So AI is a great use. Now, I am going to be very opinionated about this one part of AI, which is AI can be, something that can be, take people's jobs or take people's things and be more efficient and therefore save working hours. But that's not really, in my opinion, the great thing about AI. The great thing about AI is that it could do your job. It could do a better job for you as an assistant. Microsoft has Copilot, obviously, and a lot of people are thinking about, okay, this is sort of my person who works for me. This is my underlaid, that is in my department. Now they're not a human, they're an algorithm, but still they kind of work for me. And the truth is that when you look at the creativity that goes around buying and merchandising. It's really a half-half thing. It's got your right brain, which is what's hot, what's my gut feel, what's the fashion trend going to be, what's the color next season going to be. And can that be replaced by AI? I don't think so. I mean, I think that is the human-to-human contact, understanding your buyer, understanding your customer in your market. Can AI help you get much more of the information and the trend prediction faster? Absolutely. But you use that as a tool, right?
Yeah.
So then, the next thing is, how do we price it? Well, right now, a lot of people are still pricing on gut feel. Or based on the competitor. But the truth is there's a whole other thing about pricing elasticity, which is a very kind of long and involved mathematical analytics process that most people either don't know how to do or they just don't want to be bothered with it because it's really painful. So that's something that AI could do very, very quickly, and that doesn't really replace something. It just enhances or augments what you're already doing. And there's a million examples besides that as well.
So what I hear is you still need a human in the loop to bring that element, but obviously the data that human has access to is faster, wider, broader, and that can be brought to them, right? For this sort of looking at the future of trends and what am I going to focus on in next season, or what are the products that I need, or colors. But in my mind, they're still losing the signals, because when I look at, and I mean, it's such a silly thing, but when I look at, for example, K-pop Demon Hunters, now most retailers missed that opportunity because they didn't have the signals built into their business to pick up on trends, real trends, not what Disney's telling, right? They completely missed the marketing opportunity. They weren't able to bring out product. They weren't able to bring out relevance. And so therefore, culturally, during that season, they're a little bit less relevant. They're a bit more dated. And so I obviously, I think maybe that takes the conversation in a different way. But I just think that, the signals that retailers need are still lacking. So if we zoom in a little bit more into merchandising and how the merchandiser of the future, take me through what that looks like. What does the merchandiser of the future look like?
Yeah. So, first of all, you're spot on with the K-pop Demon Hunters thing, right? I mean, this is really about identifying trends. There's companies that will scrape 10 million Instagram photos to try to figure out what the next color of the future is going to be. And those are the kinds of things that, again, is that mix between left and right brain, between creativity and analytics, be able to have the data, but not only just the data, sort of the compute power and the processing power to make sense of that. So how do you find those trends? Okay, well, once you can do that, and either you're a manufacturing retailer, what we call an own brand retailer, like a Gucci or a River Island or something like that makes their own stuff, you have to go to get that made, and you have to be able to find the right colors and the right styles. Then there's the guys who are the buy-sell retailers, like a Best Buy, who mostly buy name brand products from suppliers. You have to be able to identify which suppliers you're missing and what things are going to be hot. And so this is really where all of this trend analysis comes in, and where AI, and particularly agentic AI, is able to help do. But that's only number one part. Number two part is, okay, well, where does it go, and how much should it be priced for, and how should it be displayed in each store? I mean, and when you have 1,000 stores or something like that, that becomes a very cumbersome process. So how do you price it? What's the information coming from the competitors? How do you have pricing that's in a logical line step? And then when you look at the whole product life cycle, how do you price it so that you don't get stuck at the end with a whole bunch of overstock that you have to mark down precipitously and lose a bunch of money on because the new product is coming and you're not, able to look at that. A lot of this stuff is basically human capacity. I just don't have the capacity to do all this stuff myself, right? I need an agent and a digital assistant, as it were, to help me, right? And also, I don't know how to do it that well. I can have the data, but then what do I do with this data? How do I process it? How do I turn it into something that's actionable?
Yeah, I think for me, and maybe when we come into what the solution is how do I trust the data? How do I have faith that this is actually, if I'm making business decisions on it, there's no hallucinations, there's no, left field data something data, broken data that is giving out a bad answer to me. So I'm curious. So tell me what does that look like? I appreciate you work for Intellio, and obviously you guys have an agentic model. But I'm forgetting Intellio for 1 second.
Sure.
What do you think the agentic agent can do for me then as a merchandiser in today? What should I be expecting from technology?
So
Right now, what it can do is it can, first of all, help you create a very comprehensive merchandise financial plan. And that a lot of times is done in cahoots between the CFO and the EVP of merchandising or whoever's in charge of that. So how do I say, okay, look at all of this stuff that's going on in the world. Look at what's been happening in my company specifically. How do I make those two things kind of come together and build something that is going to be able to take to the board if we're public to be able to, use to be able to, predict future performance, et cetera. And then how do I turn that into actionable, what we call, bottoms up kinds of forecasts? So that's the first thing it can do. Now, the thing about AI and this agentic AI or generative AI is that it can reason, but more importantly, it can do these instantaneous what if scenario planning. So you can say, okay, what if I wanted to bring my margin up by, 200 basis points or 20 basis points or something like that? What are the other things that would need to change in order for that to happen? Or what happens if I say, okay, I'm going to close these 3 stores next year, or I'm going to open this, or other kinds of competitive factors. This allows you to do, super instantaneous modeling and then be able to kind of come up with a plan that makes a lot of sense through what this would normally take if you had, in the olden days with Excel and financial planning guys, it would take weeks to be able to build these kinds of model out these scenarios where it's only in seconds with this kind of thing.
I got you. And so therefore, give me some outcomes. So I expect my day will be shorter in terms of, because now I'm getting to the conclusion a lot faster. What's the outcomes that I'll be getting from this?
What's it, the gas will expand to hit the, whatever the vehicle, the vessel is that I think there's no way your day is going to get shorter. I think what's going to happen is you're just going to be better, right? The output's going to be better. It's going to be more accurate. The other thing about AI, as you know, Alex, is that it learns from its mistakes, right? It continually gets this through the feedback loop. And so you can say, all right, I'm going to forecast this. And then it looks at the actual and says, whoops, and then it makes adjustments with the algorithm so that it's more accurate over time. Right.
Yeah.
So again, I don't think this is going to replace anybody. I don't think this is going to suck the creativity out of people. As that was my thing, I always thought I could find the best deals and the hottest stuff and beat my competition. And this is even more true in the world of fashion and things that really require a lot of vision and creativity. It's not going to reduce that at all. What it's going to be able to do is just make you better, more accurate, and have a lot of financial implications. Because if you're out ahead of your product life cycle and you are saying, okay, I'm going to mark this down 10% now so that by the end of the cycle, I'm down to 0 inventory or whatever, that is a much better financial outcome than if I get to the thing, I still have 5,000, I need to mark it down 50% below cost, right? So there's immediate financial implications around not being out of stock, having successful line steps, managing your product life cycle, being very, much more accurate in terms of your overall financial plan. I mean, I think it's really the future. It's perfect with it.
I obviously you know this. I'm not a merchandiser, but if I was a merchandiser, what's the one question I would have asked you that I've not asked you?
How does it affect, well, how would it affect my open to buy might be one of the things, right? Because, you've got, and as a merchandiser, a lot of people separate out supply chain from, merchandising or buying or what they call vendor management. When I worked in Amazon, we had a vendor managers and supply chain. But the truth is that how can this help me be better at managing my open to buy? Because a lot of times what happens is that you get stuck with core sellers, and that takes away your ability or checkbook to write something for hot sellers, and then you start to really lose traction there. And so, this is the kind of thing where where AI, especially agentic AI, can, help you get out ahead of that game. Another thing is around, how does it affect market? How can we do better promotions using AI? And I think the future of this is, people say, okay, we always do this every year. We do a buy one, get one, or buy X, get Y, or whatever these promotions are. And, is this really the right promotion? How do we know that a straight discount or a coupon or something like that isn't going to have a better result, meaning that it's going to sell more but at a higher margin, because we're just used to doing what we're always doing? But this kinds of things can really challenge everything. It can leave no stone unturned, and it can really maximize or optimize every part of the business.
I got you. Okay, well, listen, no, my brain's boggling over. Thinking, okay, all right, I got you. And if I was a merchandiser, I'd be thinking, I need to pick up the phone and call you and ask you. Well, where at Intelio based?
Oh, we're based in New York.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, listen, with that, no, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you at NRF in New York.
It's always a pleasure, Alex. Nice to see you.